Good morning. Today we're going to take a review of the giant Reign E+2 Pro. I think I've got that correct. It's a 160 travel e-bike, 500 watt hour battery running the Yamaha motor. Let's have a wee look at this thing. It's got out front a set of Fox 36s and matching that at the back with a Fox DPX2 shock, GX SRAM drivetrain, 12-speed Eagle, and we're running guide brakes with this as well. Pretty nicely specced out bike. There is two models above this, I believe, and I think if I've got it right, this is $7,000 on their website. So we're up here in Queenstown today, and we've cycled up the access road, and we're going to check out some of the tracks up here, and come join us. Okay, so I might have already started with a few errors in the intro. The first is that I said the bike was 7,000 and on their website, and actually looking close it's 7,999, which makes it $8,000. And you think, okay, so that's $1,000 more. However, we do have some good news in that I checked Torpedo 7 and they're advertising them at $5,999, so that's $6,000. So pick one of those prices anyway. Probably the Torpedo 7 one sounds a really good deal. The other thing I got incorrect was it actually does have a 170 travel fork and a 160 on the rear. So anyway, let's clear those two things up and then carry on. This bike review was done in Queenstown in the bike park. It's winter time and the gondola's not running, but hey, we've got an e-bike, so we don't need the gondola. Now, I'm not riding alone, I'm riding with three others, and I'll get them to give their opinion later in the video. But we've got Zach. Now, Zach's a e-bike virgin, so it's his first time. We've got Graham, who believes they are the devil's work, and Steve, who's kind of somewhere in between and thinks he might get one when he's 60. So anyway, we'll get their opinion a little bit later. Okay, well, I guess we should start with the Yamaha motor. I'll shut up for a minute, which you'll probably appreciate, and let's just listen to the thing for a little while. To me, that sounds pretty acceptable. It's not the quietest motor I've ever heard, it's not the noisiest. I find that pretty acceptable. The bike certainly climbed pretty well, flying up this track, no problem at all. In fact, the power outage on it we all thought was very good. We had the bike pretty much in the auto setting all day. I find that works the best. I did play around a little bit with the other settings when climbing back up the hill, and I might show that a little bit later. But basically we rode the thing in auto. When it was fast it was good, when it was slow and techy the power seemed to shut on and off very instinctively, and all the guys seemed to find that, which was pretty cool. One thing I will say about this bike is it is a big bike. It is the large that I'm riding, and I typically ride a large. The bike I normally ride is a Specialized Levo, and that has a reach of 455. Now this bike actually had a reach of 475, so that little bit longer, but not only the reach was longer, the whole bike was longer. The chainstays are 470 on this bike compared to 455 on my Levo, and the wheelbase was 1276, again compared with 1235 of the Levo. And keeping in mind that this bike was a 27.5, not a 29, so for a 27.5 bike, it gives you the feel of being a very big bike. It's also a pretty heavy bike as well. It certainly felt heavier than my Levo as well. But saying that, it didn't really affect our riding at all. We actually do some jumps later on this thing, and it jumped beautifully. In fact, I think if you were going to be buying this bike, you really are looking at sort of wanting to send some serious stuff, some big rooty, gnarly drops, some big jumps. I think if you were just sort of looking at doing your typical riding at Woodhill sort of bike park, kind of that sort of riding, I would probably go with the Trance, a smaller bike. But if you fancy, sending some big stuff, then this is probably the bike you want. Now, you probably noticed there was snow on the track. Basically, we're in Queenstown for a bit of skiing and snowboarding, but decided to take these bikes out and give them a bit of a test. Now, we were a bit concerned as to what riding this track is called the Squid Track, and it's actually down as advanced, and so it's wet and covered in ice and snow in places. But we were really all very surprised at how secure these bikes were. I guess they're long, heavy, big tyres, and they were very planted. None of us went for a skid or a skate at any point during the day, and it was quite confidence inspiring. The bike actually has a 64.5 degree head angle, so even on the steep stuff you never felt like it was sketchy at all. So yeah, has to be said that the bike was quite confidence inspiring to ride down the steep stuff, even in the wet and even with some ice on the track.
Alright, I'm riding up the hill for the second time, down to 3 bars, which I suppose is 60%, but some of the other guys are still on 4, so dropped down to 2 power level, 2 out of 5, and it sucks, to be fair. It's quite hard work, so I guess it gives you more of a workout, but yeah, you go up and it feels even one level so much better. Maybe I'll do that for a bit.
One of the problems of e-biking is range anxiety, and my battery was about a bar lower than all the other guys. I guess it's probably because I'm a big fatty, and I figured we should even things up, so I dropped it down a level to try and catch up. The irony was that we returned the bikes after 5 hours of riding, and I still had 2 bars left, so I could have just used more power and saved my legs. Anyway, time for a bit of jumping. The guys here found these jumps about halfway up the bike park, and because having an e-bike, we just managed to session the things multiple times. The Reign really jumped very well. You could get up loads of speed, loads of momentum, and yeah, we did this multiple times and really enjoyed it. I guess given that we did manage to session these jumps multiple times, probably a good opportunity to see what the guys actually thought of their Reigns.
Alright Zach, halfway through the day, what do you reckon?
I did like jumping that thing, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I think the devil over there has been sending me the wrong way.
Yeah, you should get an e-bike, man, not another pedal bike.
I think you need both, to be honest.
You're right.
Yeah, I did enjoy that, it's fantastic.
Anonymous bloke, halfway through the day, what do you reckon?
They've been a good choice for today, but that's all I say.
Alright, the guy with the bowling ball for a head. What do you think? You've had
They jump better than I thought they would.
You did pretty well on that.
Yeah, and they do climb well. We wouldn't have done this as many times if we... No way.
Well, I think it's safe to say, on the whole, the guys really enjoyed riding the bikes. Zach, I think, really wants one now. Graham's never going to want one, and Steve, I think, will eventually get one. And I think he did surprise himself on what he was able to do on this thing. I think if you're testing an e-bike, some people have ridden them, and I did a couple of laps at the car park and didn't like it. You need to be on them a few hours to suddenly get the feeling of what it's like to ride an e-bike, because they are different, but once you get used to them, they are awesome. Saying that, this wasn't so awesome. We had to cross a stream with them and then go up a very steep bank. Now, you guys are all going to put in the comments, use the walk mode, but none of us could work out which button, and we pressed and pushed all the buttons we could think of to try and get the walk mode to work. But anyway, we basically manhandled these things up the hill. It wasn't easy. One of the riders had an injured shoulder and an injured wrist. That's what mountain bikers have. And so yeah, it took 2 of us to sort of haul his bike up to the top. But anyway, you don't buy an e-bike to take them up cliffs. But yeah, this was definitely the low light of the day. Okay, so we headed back up the hill, some very tight switchbacks here. I must admit, we all struggled a little bit to get the long bike around these corners, but we did manage, and it's just a matter of getting your technique right, I think. The brakes, no issues with them, guide brakes, good brakes. Suspension, 170, 160 travel actually performed really, really well. I didn't use all the travel on the fork and probably could have let a little bit of air out, but yeah, that was really cool. We then dropped into a jump tracks here. This was an awesome piece of track. It's amazing once you get the speed up on these things, you just floated over all the jumps. And the weight just disappears. Now, I'm a big 29er fan. This is actually a 27.5, but to be honest, none of us actually really noticed that we were on the smaller wheels, and it certainly wasn't an issue, and it wouldn't put me off buying the bike, and some people may even prefer the smaller wheels.
I bet it.
As for the battery, it had a 500 watt hour battery. I would prefer a bigger battery. I said that we were out for 5 hours. That's probably a big stretch. We were definitely out for 5 hours, but we didn't ride for 5 hours. It was probably lucky if it was half that. We went for a pretty good ride, and we still had some battery when we finished. But given that a lot of the models these days have 600 watt hour and even 700 watt hour, I would probably go for the bigger battery if I could. We managed to find some bit of a jump park at the bottom, and it's amazing how confident by the end of the day we were on these bikes. Quite happy to jump them and drop off things. Yeah, big jump here. I reckon the Reign could hit this up. Unfortunately, I don't have the skills to do it, but yeah, this is the bike for that sort of thing. We end up finishing in the bike park here on the jump section. And would I buy the bike? I'd certainly be happy with one. For the price, it's really good value for money. I don't know that I wouldn't even prefer the Trance for the lot of sort of riding that I do, but if you certainly had big jumps and lots of steep techie stuff, this would definitely be the bike for it. And we certainly all had a brilliant day on this thing anyway.
Well, that was an epic day with the guys checking out the giant Reign E+2 Pro. I think I've got that right again. I really enjoyed having a day on the bike. If you enjoyed the review and you haven't subscribed already, click the logo about there, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.